It was a crisp Tuesday morning in April when the world collectively paused. The type of morning where nothing is expected and everything changes. The interview wasn't even meant to happen. Keanu Reeves, famously reclusive and private, had avoided talk shows and press junkets for over a year. Rumors swirled. He was battling illness, he was writing a novel, he had moved to a cabin in Iceland to escape the noise. But then, with no warning, the world's most beloved enigma agreed to a sit-down, live, and censored, and completely unfiltered, on a podcast run by a little-known journalist named Jules Kincaid. The stream began with a nervous Jules thanking her Patreon supporters, apologizing for the shaky webcam, and promising something absolutely mind-blowing. Most viewers were skeptical. It wasn't until the camera cut to a dimly lit room with a black leather chair that the comment section exploded. There he was, Keanu Reeves. Unshaven, pale, thinner than usual, but unmistakable. What happened next would shatter the internet. "This isn't easy to say," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "But I've lived a lie for 20 years. And I think you deserve the truth. The man you've seen in films since 2003, that wasn't me. Not really. It was a version of me. A genetically engineered clone, designed to replace me. And I let it happen." Jules blinked, trying to smile politely, clearly thinking this was performance art or a twisted joke. "I know how it sounds," Keanu continued. "But I have proof. And before this night is over, you will too." A hidden past comes to light. The confession wasn't just dramatic. It was surgical, precise. Keanu laid out dates, names, obscure locations, referencing events that had gone unnoticed for decades. He wasn't erratic, he was calm, measured. Too calm. He spoke of 2003, the year following the death of his partner Jennifer Syme. He described a deep depression, a desire to leave acting forever, and a mysterious offer made in the dead of night by two men in black suits. "They said I could walk away and still give the world what it needed," Keanu recalled. "They said the world didn't want me, they wanted the myth. The icon. The construct. They wanted someone who could live forever, work endlessly, and never break." He hesitated, then looked directly into the webcam. "They offered me peace, in exchange for my identity." What followed was a contract. A non-disclosure agreement unlike any ever written. Hidden beneath legalese were chilling clauses, transfer of public likeness, non-reclaimability of digital persona, and the most disturbing of all, clone acceptance protocol, consent, and surrender. "I signed," he said. "And I left." The man who disappeared. Keanu claimed that he spent the next 5 years living under an alias in northern Norway, teaching poetry to children and surviving on canned beans and VHS tapes. Meanwhile, the world embraced a new Keanu, one who never aged, who never misstepped, who took roles with machine-like efficiency. The world began to dig. Was there truth in his words? A Reddit user posted side-by-side screenshots of interviews from 2002 and 2005, analyzing voice tone, blinking patterns, and facial symmetry. One video editor found a frame in the day the Earth stood still where Keanu's eyes briefly shifted out of sync, something biologically impossible for humans. A former studio intern leaked a document titled, "Biohost Maintenance Schedule, KR03. Was it real? Was it part of an elaborate viral campaign? A hoax? But the real chaos began when the clone responded. Transmission from the real Keanu. Or the fake one. Less than 24 hours after the interview, a post appeared on Keanu's verified Instagram. It was a short video, 15 seconds. A cold, perfectly lit studio. A man who looked and sounded exactly like Keanu. "The individual you saw is disturbed," the clone said. "Do not believe him. I am Keanu Reeves. I have always been Keanu Reeves. This matter will be handled." The video cut to black. Lines began to blur. Suddenly, there were two Keanus. One doing an underground podcast tour, showing up with trembling hands and documents in locked suitcases. The other on red carpets, smiling in slow motion, promoting his upcoming VR-based film Neogenesis. Journalists were divided. Fans picked sides. And one FBI whistleblower, an agent named Logan Byrne, posted a video on the dark web. In it, he displayed a frozen cryochamber labeled KR Original, contained. The timestamp? July 2003. The internet was on fire. Theories flooded every social platform. Podcasts speculated wildly, and late-night hosts danced awkwardly around what was quickly becoming the most controversial claim in Hollywood history. Two Keanus. Two timelines. One impossible truth. And then came Tokyo. Just 3 days after Keanu's podcast confession, An anonymous user dropped a 47-page PDF titled Project Mirror, the Genesis of KR-03. The file was traced back to an IP address in Shibuya, Tokyo, and contained what looked like internal documents from a biogenetics firm called Axiom Core, a company with no website, no press releases, and no official registration. It was as if the company only existed in the footnotes of conspiracy blogs and in redacted DARPA reports. But buried in the documents were blueprints, names, images, and a single, haunting photograph. The clone chamber. In grainy black and white resolution, the image showed a hospital-grade biochamber. Inside it, a man floating in opaque gel, wires running from his spine to a row of servers. His face was unmistakable. Keanu Reeves. Beneath the image was a label. Subject, KR-03. Creation date, May 14, 2003. Host DNA, K. Reeves, original baseline. Behavioral synchronization, 82%. Current phase, active deployment. The public went into meltdown. The photo was taken down from the internet within 6 hours, flagged for violating international security protocols. But the damage was done. People had seen it. They had screen captured it. It was already tattooed on forearms in downtown LA. Axiom Core, Ghost in the Machine. Axiom Core, as researchers would later uncover, was founded in 1998 as a neurological interface lab, funded by both the Japanese Ministry of Defense and a private Swiss conglomerate. Most of its patents were shelved under the U.S. Military Industrial Secrets Act. But one paper, scrubbed from the internet but recovered by digital archivists, detailed a project known as neuromimetic replication through biocognitive templates. In plain English, they weren't just cloning bodies. They were copying souls. The ghost of Neo. 10 years earlier, while filming The Matrix Reloaded, Keanu had been approached by a private researcher during a break in Sydney. The man had introduced himself only as Dr. Ozu and handed Keanu a sealed envelope. It contained a photo of a lab rat playing a piano. The man said, simply, "We downloaded Beethoven into him, and now we want to try it with you." Keanu had laughed. He thought it was a joke, but in retrospect, it wasn't. Now, 20 years later, documents linked Ozu directly to Axiom Core. He had disappeared in 2005. Some say he moved to Antarctica. Others say he became Subject KR-01, a failed prototype of the Keanu project that spoke only in riddles and quotes from Speed. The Hacker Collective, or 3V. Just as the truth seemed buried in Tokyo's shadows, another key player emerged, a hacker group called R3V, short for Revolt, Reveal, Revive. On April 10, 2025, R3V hijacked the screens in Times Square. At 3:03 a.m., all billboards lit up with a single message. "The real Keanu is awake," followed by a QR code. The QR code led to a live stream, footage from a dimly lit underground parking garage in Sapporo, Japan. In the video, a trembling man in a hoodie, his face partially obscured, opened a freezer unit marked with a biohazard symbol. Inside, a black box with a retinal scanner. When the scanner flickered green, the box opened. A voice played from inside. It was Keanu, but different. "If you're hearing this, I am, or was, the original. They've kept me asleep. They've made versions of me. But none of them are me. Not truly. They don't dream. They don't regret. They don't remember Jennifer." He paused. "If you still believe in who I was, help me shut them down. The corporate enforcers." The clone wasn't silent either. A week after the video leak, KR-03, the public Keanu, made a chilling appearance at a film premiere in Berlin. His voice was cold. His smile was wrong. "There is no clone. There is only me," he said. "The other is an imposter. He threatens national security. He will be neutralized." Later that night, the original Keanu's podcast with Jules Kincaid was deleted. Her entire channel wiped. Her apartment in Brooklyn, emptied. Neighbors said men in gray suits carried out all her furniture at 3 a.m. The real cost of immortality. Hidden in the Axiom Core leak was a file labeled Trauma Log, KR-03, a psychological evaluation report from 2011. It detailed symptoms reported by the clone. Emotional numbness. Vivid nightmares of memories he never lived. Fear of mirrors. Dissociation during filming romantic scenes. Obsessive fixation on a woman named Jennifer, despite no personal connection. One note stood out. KR-03 is beginning to exhibit existential fragmentation. He asks to meet the original. This is denied. He requests to die. This is denied. He begins to cry without stimulus. The world was no longer laughing. This wasn't viral marketing. This wasn't art. This was war. A war between two versions of the same man. One made by nature. One made by design. The world had split in two. One half still clung to the idea of Keanu as myth, a man immune to scandal, trauma, or time. The other half followed the cracks, the data leaks, the late-night whispers in Discord servers and dark web forums. By now, both the original and the clone had gone dark. No public appearances, no live streams, no new leaks. Until a drone captured footage that changed everything. The drone footage. A group of urban explorers, known online as the cryptids, flew a drone near the back of the Hollywood sign late one night, trying to film an abandoned Prohibition tunnel rumored to house old film reels. But instead of tunnels, they caught something else. A steel elevator descending into the hill behind the sign. Two men in dark suits entered with briefcases. One of them looked familiar. His profile matched a low-angle paparazzi shot from the John Wick Chapter 2 set. But the footage didn't go viral right away. It disappeared, scrubbed from YouTube by a takedown notice signed by Alcia Dynamics, a defense contractor with no listed ties to entertainment. 3 days later, Cryptid's lead uploader vanished. The group posted a message. "We've gone underground. Literally. And we're bringing backup. Project Persephone." The elevator, as discovered by a rogue former Axiom Core scientist named Dr. Hananari, led to Vault Persephone, a subterranean archive designed to store cognitive assets. This was no ordinary vault. It was carved out in 1961 during the Cold War as a nuclear-proof shelter, repurposed in 2002 under a secret directive known as DoD Theta 9, with help from Silicon Valley AI pioneer Gareth Wexler. According to leaked floor plans, Vault Persephone had 13 levels. Level 7 was the most important. It was labeled Care Storage. Inside the vault, when our 3V hackers breached the vault's internal camera system, they exposed what may be the most disturbing footage ever to surface in Hollywood history. Footage of a sterile white room lined with pods, each containing human-like figures in stasis. A room filled with Keanus. Not one, not two, but at least 16. Each pod had a label. KR00, Original Cryostasis. KR01, Defective Language Corruption. KR03, Public Deployment. KR05, Stunt Variant, Retired. KR09, Promo Model, High Charisma Index. KR12, Aggressive Response Unit, Unstable. And one marked in red. KR13, Awakened Without Authorization, Quarantined. The camera lingered briefly on KR13. He looked aware, awake, and he was staring directly at the lens. A personal message. Just days later, a new encrypted message appeared on the R3V homepage. It was a shaky video, filmed in near darkness, with only a flickering light illuminating the figure's face. It was the original Keanu. He looked tired, malnourished, and older than fans remembered. But his voice, calm, deliberate, left no doubt. They wanted to make me eternal. Instead, they fractured me. They didn't just clone my body. They tried to segment my soul. Split me into tasks, one for press, one for pain, one for stunts, one for silence. He looked off-screen, then leaned in. But one of them broke the loop. KR13. He remembers everything, including the truth about who really built Axiom Core. It wasn't just tech companies. It was studios. The industry wanted more than actors. They wanted products. The studio connection. An anonymous whistleblower, known only by the handle Ghost WGA, revealed internal documents from major studios including Warner Brothers, Lionsgate, and even Netflix. These documents outlined a plan called Project Sharon, a Hollywood-wide initiative to digitally and biologically preserve marketable talent across multiple generations. Keanu wasn't the first attempt, but he was the first success. The perfect candidate, ageless, reserved, and adored by all demographics. But even perfection cracks. The stunt that wasn't. At the John Wick 4 premiere, the real Keanu was supposed to make a brief cameo, masked, hidden among extras. The studio wanted it as an Easter egg for the fans. But something went wrong. Security footage, later leaked by R3V, showed two Keanus accidentally confronting each other behind a trailer. One of them froze. The other whispered something inaudible. A third man in a lab coat pulled them apart. That man was later identified as Dr. Kazuo Ishima, Chief Behavioral Overseer for Axiom Core's Identity Integration Unit. He disappeared the next day. The world reacts. Protests erupted outside major studios. #FreeKeanu trended globally. A grassroots campaign demanded biometric proof that the Keanu Reeves in upcoming films was a willing, autonomous human being. Meanwhile, stock prices for companies tied to facial recognition, AI avatars, and synthetic deepfakes skyrocketed. Investors smelled the future, and it wasn't human. The original Keanu's final message ended with a chilling line. "If I die again, don't believe it. Death is no longer real in their world. But neither is life." It started at 4:47 a.m. Pacific time. At first, it was just a flicker in the grid, a rolling blackout that began in Culver City and swallowed everything east. By 6:12 a.m., power across all of Los Angeles County was gone. No electricity, no cell signal, no internet, not even GPS. The city, addicted to screens and Wi-Fi, fell into a strange, heavy silence. A message was projected on the side of the CAA building in Century City in 10-foot letters. "We're bringing him home." Or 3V. The lockdown. The government responded within the hour. Black choppers, silent drones, and unmarked vans patrolled the empty highways. The National Guard arrived by noon. Officials cited cyber-terrorism, but they didn't mention the most important part. Vault Persephone had been breached, and someone had stolen a body. The awakened. That someone was KR-13. He'd escaped. A coordinated breach by our 3V operatives and insiders within Axiom Core had triggered a 2-minute security loophole, just enough time for the awakened clone to override his pod's neurolock and flee the facility with a stolen ID badge, a black hoodie, and a single mission. Find the original. KR-13 wasn't like the others. He didn't just look like Keanu. He felt like him. He remembered fragments of a life he'd never lived, riding his motorcycle through Laurel Canyon at dusk, the way his dog barked at fireflies, the weight of grief he'd never earned but deeply carried. And he wanted answers. The encounter. 2 days after the blackout, in an abandoned soundstage on the Paramount lot, it happened. The meeting. Captured by a hacked studio security feed and broadcast in real time to a private channel on the dark web, the video showed 2 figures walking slowly toward each other. The original and the clone. One barefoot, in a worn hoodie. The other in a black trench coat, hands trembling. KR-13, I know who you are. Original Keanu, do you? KR-13, I know who I used to be. Original Keanu, that makes one of us. They circled each other like twin shadows. For a moment, it was unclear who was more real. KR-13, I see things I never lived. Feel things I didn't earn. Why? Original Keanu, because they didn't make a copy. They made a fracture. A mirror without glass. Then came the most devastating part. KR-13, I don't want to be you. Original Keanu, smiling faintly, then you're already more human than they ever wanted you to be. Studio Zero. The location of the breach was no accident. Behind that soundstage, beneath a false elevator shaft and a replica of the Friends Coffee House set, lay the true heart of the operation. Studio Zero. According to a recovered blueprint, Studio Zero had been built in 1999 as a covert biometric cinema laboratory. Inside were motion capture rooms, voice simulators, and AI personality mapping stations, most of which had been used not to create effects, but to train clones. For every interview, every press junket, every photo shoot, the clone was rehearsed like an actor. Not just to speak as Keanu, but to be Keanu. Or rather, the version of him fans expected. He wasn't a replacement, said one former Axiom engineer. He was the algorithm of affection, a walking dopamine loop. The digital coup. By week's end, Hollywood was in total collapse. Every major studio's cloud was breached. Deepfake footage surfaced showing decades of falsified content. Holographic actors revealed in old concerts, premieres, even funeral eulogies. One clip showed Keanu attending his own mother's funeral in 2010, except she had died in 2006. The world began to ask the question no one had dared voice out loud. Had we been watching simulations all along? The Mirror broadcast. On April 23, 2025, the biggest surprise came from KR-13 himself. He hijacked The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, not live, but with a mirrorcast signal. Every screen, every smart TV, even billboards across North America lit up with his face. Not in anger, in sorrow, I am not your hero. I am the ghost of your consumption. You didn't want Keanu. You wanted comfort. Silence. Immortality. He stared into the lens. And now you have to choose. Behind him stood the original, silent. Watching. You can follow the fiction. Or you can find what's left of the real. But you can't have both. The signal cut. Humanity in the crossfire. The world fractured overnight. Some demanded the clone be hunted down, called him a threat, an imposter, a rogue AI in flesh. Others called him the most important life form ever created, a synthetic soul with moral awareness. Protests broke out. Celebrities issued bizarre, vague apologies. Some confessed they too had been partially replicated for continuity contracts. One even claimed she hadn't physically acted in a film since 2017. And Keanu? Both versions vanished. The final countdown. But not before one final clue was dropped. A GPS coordinate. A single line of text embedded in a viral image of the Hollywood sign, glitched and bleeding pixels. May 5th. Griffith Observatory. Bring a mirror. What did it mean? Was it a message? A trap? A farewell? The countdown began. May 5th, 2025. 7 p.m. sharp. The Griffith Observatory overflowed with people, conspiracy theorists, rogue journalists, bioethicists, Axiom whistleblowers, and fans who had followed Keanu for decades, some wearing Matrix trench coats, others holding signs that read, "We want the real one. Let the clone speak. Keanu belongs to no one." The sun was just beginning to dip behind the horizon when the sky above Los Angeles shimmered, not from clouds or lights, but from the projection of a massive, spherical hologram above the observatory. And then, he appeared. Not a Keanu. Both of them. Side by side. Identical. Opposite. The original and the clone. And they were holding something. The mirror protocol begins. Projected between them was a glowing circular interface, ancient symbols interwoven with futuristic glyphs. Beneath it, in quiet text. The mirror protocol. Axiom Core Studio 0 Wexler Codex. Confirm identity. Select future. The protocol wasn't designed by Keanu. It had been embedded in his clones from the beginning by the ghost-like founder of Axiom Core, Gareth Wexler, the man who'd vanished in 2006 under strange circumstances. He had left behind this final test, a ritual, half technological, half psychological. The idea, only one version could continue. But here's the twist. They refused to choose. The choice refused. KR-13 stepped forward, his voice amplified across every device in a 50-mile radius. This is the illusion they sold you, that only one truth can exist, that the soul must be singular, or it isn't real. But we've both lived. We've both suffered. We've both become. The original Keanu stepped forward. What they did to me was theft. What he became from it was survival. Then, in an unscripted moment that silenced the entire crowd, the two Keanus turned toward each other and embraced. It wasn't digital. It wasn't staged. Sensors picked up body heat, heartbeat, pulse. They were both real. In different ways. KR-13, we are not the same. But we are not enemies. Original Keanu, let the world choose their fiction. We choose our freedom. The collapse of Axiom Core. Within minutes, the mirror protocol caused cascading failures across Axiom's global infrastructure. The system hadn't been built to handle dual consciousness within one digital contract. The moment both Keanus refused the selection, the identity framework imploded. Servers fried. Synthetic actor contracts terminated in real time. Studio Zero's archives became open source. Everything, all the buried data, all the lies, released to the public. In a final encrypted message released via our 3versus Darknet hub, a single sentence appeared. The age of perfect illusions is over. Welcome to the fractured real. Where are they now? Both Keanus vanished that night. Some say they walked out of LA together under the cover of a drone storm. Others believe one of them was taken in by an off-grid resistance commune in Alaska. A few claim they were never real at all, just sophisticated actors in a hypermodern myth. But the truth is stranger. Multiple sightings of two identical men, now with subtle differences, a scar here, a posture there, have been recorded around the world. Teaching meditation in Kyoto. Riding motorcycles through Romania. Living quietly in Newfoundland under different names. No interviews. No cameras. Just echoes of peace. The aftermath. Hollywood changed. Actors now demanded authenticity audits before every release. Studios faced lawsuits from artists whose likenesses had been cloned or stolen. Public trust in synthetic content shattered. Meanwhile, fans worldwide created a grassroots movement called the Human Frame. Their motto: "We don't need forever. We just need the truth." Keanu became a myth not because he was perfect, but because he was willing to reject perfection. Epilogue: The Mirror in the Box. Months later, a package was delivered to a forgotten post office in Bakersfield, California. Inside, a VHS tape and a small silver mirror. On the tape, Keanu, or KR-13, were both sitting by a fire. If you're watching this, it means we chose not to be owned. It means we left the mirror behind. He holds up the mirror. It reflects not his face, but the face of whoever watches. This was never about me. It was about what you need me to be. I'm not your savior. I'm your reflection. The screen fades to black. Final words appear. Keanu 2.0. End of simulation. Begin reality.